Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. My apologies for being just a few minutes late. I was having some technical issues and got them all worked out. We're going to have a great session today. This is one of my very favorite things to teach. I know I say that all the time, but this really one is. Like, I know I say you're my favorite, but this one really is. I love financial literacy for business owners because this is kind of my jam. I have a background in accounting and bookkeeping, but I actually speak normal. I actually understand what it's like to not understand what people are saying, and because I was not a really great student in school. So I am. If you are here looking for financial literacy as a business owner, you are in the right spot. So if you have not already said where you're from or what you're and what kind of line of work that you're in, please go ahead and put that in the session. And before we get too far down the road, I'm going to get questions down the road. I know there's going to be people who are going to say, are we going to get a replay? Yes, you'll get a replay. Keep an eye on your email because we'll be sending stuff out that way. And it'll be an actual email from me. Like it's not like you're not getting just shoved into an autoresponder, which is, we do have that, but you're going to be getting like real actual emails from me. So feel free to reply. I would love to hear from you. But anyway, so we're going to get right to it. Just a couple of quick things before we do get started is I'd love to hear from you in terms of, what kind of work that you do, what you're hoping to glean from today, maybe if you're just trying to get a basic understanding, obviously where you're from. I know we've got people from, Jonathan is from Maryland. Emily is from California. Hello to both of you. We've got Kaylin from Jacksonville, Florida. Very good. We've got Robbie from the UK. Hello, Robbie. Nice to meet you. Glad that you could join us. Same to you, Kaylin. We got Peggy, Lauren from Peggy's from, is it Aiken, South Carolina? No, I've not heard of that before. Luverta, man, you're burning it up this week. Good to see you again from Minnesota, representing. And there's still no snow on the ground, I'm assuming, right? Here we are, mid-October, Minnesota. So when you have tater tot hot dish, Luverta, you've got to email me and let me know what you think of it, because I'm like got this massive buildup for tater tot. Anybody had tater tot hot dish from Minnesota? Like that's like everybody has like a local cuisine. Like St. Louis is like known for like fried ravioli, which if you've never had that, that's ridiculously good. I don't know what that's about, but anyway, yeah, tater tot hot dish is definitely a thing. All right, Reese, we've got Fort Mill, South Carolina. All right, Kirsten, glad you could join us. Central Indiana Realtor. Kevin from Jersey. Oh man, I'm from the tri-state area too, Kevin. So hello, and you are PA from Australia. Oh, very cool. Nice to meet you. Glad you can make it. Okay, so let's get to it. Again, there is going to be a replay. I want to get this right into this because we have got a ton of information. One of the things I just want to tell you now is there's going to be some resources at the very end. So there's going to be a ton of information that I'm going to be passing along, a lot of stuff that you can do, and there's nothing that you have to buy. There is going to be a thing at the very, very end. If you want to stick around and I can tell you about it, you're more than welcome to hang around. If you don't want to, you're not going to hurt my feelings, but I'm going to deliver tons of value in advance of that. So if you feel like sticking around just to see what the offer is, it's just a few dollars. If you feel like it would be worth it for you. So I'm not going to beat you up on trying to sell you stuff all the way throughout. I just want to let you know that in advance. Okay, so let's get to it. So we're going to get right into the agenda. And first thing I'm going to tell you first and foremost is around this methodology that I have come up with that helps me put together a business and a business plan using the Viper method. So we're going to talk about the Viper method and that methodology of what the framework is, so you can understand why this is important from a top-down perspective. Like, why is it even important to understand the finances? Is that something that we even need to know? It obviously is. Many of you are here because you don't understand finances well enough, or you want to get a deeper level of understanding, and you may not really know why. This understanding the Viper methodology will help you understand why. Then we're going to talk about the 4 core functions of business. Every business has to have 4 core functions, or it's not a business. It's not even a side hustle, to be honest with you. We're going to be talking about financial statements, the balance sheet, the income statement, and the P&L. We're going to talk about where is all my cash? Why am I growing broke? What is happening? We want to avoid this phenomenon called growing broke. And finally, we're going to get you set up with some resources to make you sure that you are continuing on with this journey of financial education. So just a couple things I just want to ask you in advance. Please don't multitask. I know it is really difficult. It's a super tall order to ask you not to multitask as you're sitting in front of your computer, or maybe some of you are on your laptop or on your iPads or your telephones. But here's the thing: we've got a limited time together. We've got 51 minutes together. I'm going to try to put the fries in the bag right at the top of the hour. The thing is, it's going to go fast. And if you're daydreaming or wandering in and out of TikTok or social media or trying to return an email or anything, you may be missing something. What was the whole point of you coming here in the first place? So what I'm trying to do is get you to train your brain to not multitask, because if you think you're effective multitasking, you are not. And I hate to tell you, I mean, I'm not, don't blame me. Don't shoot the messenger. There have been a ton of studies done by psychologists with far bigger brains than mine that will tell you that you are not as effective when you are multitasking. So just train your brain to stay focused for the next 50 minutes, and we will and that way, on the other side of this, you can get back to the other things that you were doing, and you can learn as much as you possibly can. And if you do miss anything, don't worry, there will be a replay. If you have questions, you can ask questions along the way. I will do my very best to get to them. But just keep in mind, I want to make sure that we get out of here at the top of the hour. So that is everything. That's everything here. So I just want to let you know, if you are wanting to scale, some of you are trying to, some of you are just starting out in your businesses. Some of you are already in business. Maybe you're a solopreneur. You've got a couple of employees or a couple of contractors that work for you, and you're wanting to scale that operation. Or you're just trying to get to the next level. You're trying to bring in more customers. You're just trying to, maybe just some of you just want a day off once in a while. Some of you just maybe want a paycheck once in a while. Oh my gosh, I completely understand what that's like. So I just want to let you know, I do get it. I understand what you're struggling with, because I have been through all of those stages, and it's not fun. It really isn't. And this is about giving you the tools in your toolbox to have a better understanding, so you can make better financial decisions, and so you can make strategic decisions in your life and in your business. This is the pile of books that I have written. I'm not here to promote those. I'm just letting you know, this is what I've written. I've written books about real estate. That's the book, The Time Wealthy Investor, up top. That book is even out of print, because I've actually updated that with the Time Wealthy Investor 2.0. But this is all the stuff that I have written about. My background is in accounting. I've done a lot of different stuff around business, and this is my latest capstone book, which is basically it's called The Time Wealthy Advantage, and everything that I'm going to be talking about in the Viper methodology is written in this. So if you are looking for a copy, you can get it on Amazon. If you're domestic US and you would like a signed copy, you can get it on my website at strategicboardroom.com. But don't do it right now. Do not do it right now. I'm watching. I just know. Some of you are already looking up Amazon. I'm just saying, if you do, you can get it cheaper and I get it signed, but we'll get to that later. So here's the thing. The Viper methodology is vision. It stands for, it's an acronym. So Viper is an acronym for vision, infrastructure, process, execution, and reporting. And when you're looking at vision, everything is fundamentally around vision. Vision is specifically where it is that you want to go. And the thing is around Viper. The Viper methodology is Viper, or vision, is broken down into two ways, and it's specifically around personal vision and business vision. The personal vision is just going to ask you a very basic question of, like, where is it that you want to go? Where do you in your life, where are you trying to go? Like, what are you trying to get to? This is really important, because if you don't figure this out now, and in advance of all this other financial stuff, the problem is, if you don't figure this out now, you're going to create a business that overtakes your life. And I'm just letting you know in advance that that's not the point of having a business. The business vision should ask you the question, okay, cool, that's where you want to go. The business vision should say, cool, how are we going to get there? So you're just going to reverse engineer a business vision that's going to deliver. You're just going to reverse engineer this business that's going to deliver your personal vision for you. Okay. And here's the thing, though, is the danger in not creating a personal vision is that your business vision, in essence, becomes your personal vision. And that's how you end up creating a life that exists to serve the business. And that's the danger, right? Again, I'm going to say that one more time. The danger in creating a business vision before you ever create or even consider a personal vision is that you end up creating a life that exists to serve the business. And I'm just telling you, that sucks. Like, I've been down that road where, I mean, if you think it's bad having a job where you're working for like an awful boss, imagine having a boss that would never allow you to have any time off, would never allow you to have a sick day, would never allow you to not answer your cell phone, right? And even though you're like, yeah, but it's my business, I'm just telling you that's almost the worst business, because you can't even fire yourself, because you've got this engine going and you can't stop because that's your source of income. So I'm just letting you know, like, stop for just a hot second and create that personal vision. And the way that I would consider, just a really easy way for you to start to consider your personal vision. There's a whole host of ways of going about this. And this is a really good way to start, is consider your 100th birthday speech. You're turning 100 years old. There you are. Think about it. Who would you want to be there? Who would you want to be in the room? And what would you say, right? What would be the message that you would want other people to carry outside the room afterwards, right? So this is taking a strategic top-down approach to what you want your business to look like. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry, my breaker tripped, and I was afraid that it was my battery was going to discharge, my laptop battery was going to run out. Okay, so that is where I want you to start to think about is specifically, where is it that you want to go, and how, where is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for you? So when you start thinking about that 100th birthday speech, is you start thinking, okay, well, I want to, again, if you woke up with $30 million in your bank account, what would your life look like if you didn't have to worry about income generation? Fine, go out and buy all the fancy stuff, go have, go do all of the things that you want to do, go take the vacations that you want. But I'm talking about from a day-to-day perspective. If you woke up with $30 million in your bank account, or 30 million pounds in your bank account, what would your life look like from day to day? Right. So even though $30 million or 30 million pounds or 30 million whatevers may sound like a lot of money, whatever that is, you're going to have to be careful, because you can run out of money if you're not careful. And there's plenty of examples of people who've won state lotteries and they end up right back where they are within 5 years. That's a reality. That's actually not made up. So I want you to think about that. So we're going to leave that alone from personal vision. Now we're going to talk about business vision. Again, we're taking a top-down approach. That's what the Viper methodology does. We're taking a strategic approach as opposed to a tactical bottom-up approach. So the strategic approach is, we're looking at your personal vision first. Now let's look at your business vision. Your business vision is going to ask you 3 specific things, right? You're looking at core purpose, core values, and client avatar. So Scarlett from London, nice to meet you. Edmonton, Airbase, Canada. Nice. Very good. You bake cookies. Oh, Dark Rose, you're back. Okay, that sounded familiar. My personal vision is owning a house and being being the creepy neighbor who goes out on Halloween, jack-o'-lanterns everywhere, full-size candy bars. Oh man. Yeah. You're a baker, so that kind of is a occupational hazard. I love that, Dark Rose. Thank you for sharing that. But that's the kind of thing. Like, you should have a personal vision around your what you want your life to look like, what you want your relationships to look like, what do you want your marriage to look like, what do you want your relationship with children to look like, what do you want your relationship with other people to look like, even your relationship with God, your faith, things like that. Those are the things. If that's important to you, it's important to me. So these are the sorts of things that you really want to bake in the cake. Okay. See what I did there, Dark Rose? I did that for you. But that's what I'm saying. Like, these are the sorts of things you want to think about in terms of your personal vision. Let's look at business vision. Business vision is, it breaks it down into 3 things: core purpose, core values, and client avatar. Your core purpose is specifically what business that you're in, and what problems do you solve, and what business specifically are you in, and what problems do you specifically solve. This is important that you be as specific as possible, because when you're not specific, when it leaves your mouth and it hits a potential client's ears, it is not going to magically get more clear in their head. If anything, it gets all jumbled up. So you've got to be really, really clear in like 5th and 7th grade language about what your core purpose is of your business. And if you're not clear about that, it's not going to get more clear in your marketing or anywhere else. So you've got to be really clear about your core purpose. Your core values is what matters to you about this business, and how would the world be worse off if you went out of business. If you don't identify your core values, it's, again, what happens is your core values will be defined. Oh, I promise they'll be defined, but they're going to be defined by the strongest personality in the room. And you better hope you never leave the room, because especially if you have other people that are working for you, they will be defined, right? And the problem is then what happens when you're not around. And this is because core values help define company culture, and the company brand, right, the company culture, company brand, those things are inextricably linked. So think about companies that have really strong brands like Southwest Airlines or even Starbucks or Target. They have very strong company brands, and the brand and the culture are inextricably linked. You cannot extract the two. So that if you're looking to grow a business and you're looking to get to the next level, especially even though I know we're talking about finances right now, this is really, really important. The third thing is your client avatar. And this is about who you specifically and ideally want to serve. And this is really important. You have to think about it in terms of geographics, demographics, and psychographics. And it's really important that you know who these people are, because, from a financial aspect, this is going to be important because you want to make sure that the people are coming to you. They're going to be happy. They're going to be happy to pay over and over and over again, or at least they're going to be sending more clients your way. Remember, we're taking a top-down approach. I'm just introducing you again to the Viper methodology. So when you're looking at geographics in terms of defining your client avatar, your geographics is where they are, your demographics is who they are, and the psychographics is how they think. And psychographics is broken down into three main ways. Think of ALIA, A-L-I-A. That is their attitudes, their lifestyles, their interests, and their aspirations and goals. So this is really important. The better you understand this, the more the more efficient and more effective you're going to be in your marketing, which means when you send out marketing dollars, one of the things that we track is called RMI. That's return on marketing investment. That's a financial calculation. If I send out 10,000 little soldiers, right? Little Marines, I want each one of those 10,000 to come back with $1 under each arm. That would be amazing, right? So if I send out 10,000 and I'm getting 30 back. That's a calculation that I would want to know. And if I don't know this, if I don't know why they're going to want to buy, why they're coming to me at all, my return on marketing investment is going to be horrible. So these are the 3 C's of business vision: core purpose, core values, and client avatar. And that's going to put the period at the end of the sentence for vision. Okay, so it's personal vision and business vision. Infrastructure is just the bones of the business, right? It's the desks, it's the chairs, it's the software, it's the computers and things like that, right? This is and websites, all of the stuff that is around, that is important. And again, you're creating this infrastructure that's going to be in alignment with your vision. So again, when you're creating this infrastructure, you want to do that with an alignment with an idea of what your personal and business vision are. Okay, so you want to think about that, because again, if your personal vision is to lay on the beach rubbing cocoa butter on your belly for 2 months out of the year in Spain, that's going to be a horrible experience if you set up an infrastructure where you have to return emails and phone calls all the time, right? So there you are laying on the beach and you're trying to rub cocoa butter in your belly and you have to return emails and phone calls. That's going to be a horrible experience for you, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, you want to do the vision, personal vision first, then business vision, then set up an infrastructure that's in alignment with both of those. Next, we're going to talk about process. Process is simply how you do stuff, right? From process perspective, there's tactical process and there is strategic portion of the process. Let's talk about tactical first. Tactical, again, is how you do stuff. It's your standard operating procedures. It's your checklist items, right? It's your day-to-day activities of like your opening procedures, your closing procedures, your how you answer the phone, how you prepare bank deposits, things like that, right? That's your day-to-day tactical stuff. It's all kind of all the boring stuff that maybe, like Michael Gerber wrote about in the E-Myth, several decades ago. And everybody thought it was amazing, right? Like, oh my gosh, documenting your processes, what a concept, right? Now it's like old hat. But there's so few people still doing this, right? There's so few people actually doing it because it actually takes work. So I want you to think about that in terms of the tactical part of your processes. When you're looking at the strategic planning part of the process, this is where you need people, purpose, and promotion. This is the 3 P's of strategic planning. So when you're thinking about your people, these are the people that you're going to need that are going to take you to that next level, right? So if your strategic plan, the purpose of the process, or the purpose of your strategic plan is to gain market share, or it is to you want to let's say you want to gain market share, or you want to launch a new product, a new service, maybe you want to go into a new market. Whatever that purpose is, you are going to need people to help you with that. You might need someone to help you with lead gen. You might need someone to help you with selling. You might need someone to help you with the deliverable, right? With the product or the fulfillment. right? Whatever it is, you're going to need other people other than you, especially if you're trying to grow, because you are just one person. There's no way you're going to be able to do all of that. So this is where you're going to be looking at purpose, people, and promotion. And that's letting people know internally in your organization what you're doing and people outside your organization in terms of what you're doing. So that promotional piece, and it absolutely is necessary for both people on the inside of your organization and on the outside. So that is strategic planning. Now we talked about process. Let's talk about execution. This is one of my favorite quotes by General George S. Patton, who's an American general who was made a real name for himself in World War II. A good plan violently executed now is better than the perfect plan next week. And the reason why I'm putting this in the Viper methodology is because many plans fall apart in their execution. And the reason for that is because many people try to put too many different priorities in their list, like their to-do list. Like, where are my folks who have like 37 items on their to-do list? I know you're out there, right? As I'm the same way, right? It's so easy for me to want to bloat my to-do list. I'm going to massively overestimate what I think I'm going to get done in a day. Because the reality is having too many priorities has the same impact as having none. So one of the things that I do is I create a daily 5, and my daily 5 are up to the 5 highly specific actions that I'm going to take that are going to move the needle towards my strategic plan or my business or personal vision. One of those two things, right? So, or one of those three things. So basically, and the strategic plan obviously should be in alignment with my business vision and my personal vision anyway. So that's what I'm saying, like up to 5. For me, 3 is the sweet spot, is really where I like to be. But 5, if I have 5 on there, that seems to be just right at my max. But I would say up to 5 highly specific needle moving activities. I'm not talking like check email, not talking like, brush teeth. I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm talking about very specific actions and activities that will move the needle towards where you're trying to go. The last piece of the Viper methodology is reporting. And you have to have a reporting function. And the way that I do this through both lead metrics and lag metrics. And the lead metrics are specific to my actions and activities. My lag metrics are the results of those actions and activities. So what do you think you have the most control over? You have the most control over your actions and activities. I didn't have any control over how many people actually signed up for this session, right? I didn't have any direct control over how many even people showed up for this session, right? That would be a lag metric. I do have control over when I launched it, when I promoted it, when I did it. I have control over that, but I don't have any control over who shows up or anything else, right? So those are the lead metrics versus lag metrics. So if I have direct control over my actions and activities, and that's what you should be focusing on most. Yeah, I'm not saying ignore lag metrics. That's important because that's going to tell you if your actions and activities are moving the needle or not. Okay, so I'm just letting you know that's important to measure that stuff. So that's the Viper framework in a nutshell. So the 4 core functions, these are the 4 core functions that every business has to have, and they follow in this order: lead generation, sales, operations, and accounting. So the customer's journey in your company happens in this order. They experience you through their lead generation or networking or whatever it is, right? Some direct response, some direct outreach, whether it's outbound lead gen, inbound lead gen, whatever it is, right? Outbound marketing, inbound marketing, something. They found out about you. Then there's the sales function. And for many of you who are solopreneurs, you're also doing the sales function, right? So you've got Dark Rose, who's, someone maybe comes into her shop, assuming she's got a shop, and they're looking at their array and she's selling, right? What is it you like? Do you like dark chocolate? Do you like, whatever, right? Whatever it is. And that's the thing so now you're in a sales conversation at that point in time. Then there's the operations and fulfillment. Maybe she does, there's, some sort of wedding cakes or things like that, right? So then there's the operations and fulfillment function, and then there's the accounting function, right? So the customer's journey through your business happens in that order. So let me go back to make this real quick point. I know that we're here to talk about accounting and finance, but in terms of your lead generation, everything needs to support your lead generation function. And the reason being is because you can have the best, most efficient business. You can be a paragon of virtue. Your sales technique so dialed in, you could sell ice to Eskimos or voting boost to Castro. You could have the most delicious cakes ever, and still starve. And that's the reality, because even though we're going to be talking about finances here in just a second, you can never, ever, 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 ever take your foot off the gas when it comes to lead generation. You just can't do it. And the reason for that is because without leads, your business will starve. Okay. So again, the lead generation function is absolutely critical, and everything has to support that. The sales function basically just continues the conversation started by the lead generation, and it understands that effective selling is not, holding someone else's head underwater until they say yes. It's about finding solutions. It's about effectively finding solutions and effectively having conversations that are also in alignment with the lead generation, right? The lead generation and the sales, they have to be connected, and it can't be disjointed. If they're having a different experience from one to the next, it's going to be awkward for them. So give me 1 second here. Okay. All right. So sorry, I had comment there. All right. So the next thing is going to be the operational function. If you're going to get stuck, you're going to get stuck in the operational function. Generally, you're going to get stuck as a roofer, as a baker, as a website maker, whatever that is. You got to be careful about getting stuck in the operational function, because this is generally where people do get stuck. Finally is the operational or the accounting side. And the accounting side, if you're going to ignore something, generally you're going to ignore the accounting. Now, I have a degree in accounting. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting. And I have said these following words. Well, I've got more money in my bank account this month than last month. I must be doing okay. Right? That's a terrible way to manage a business. And I'm just letting you know that even though I have that degree in accounting, I am the least qualified person to actually do my accounting in my books. That would be that is not for me to do. Okay. Yes, Chelsea, the recording will be sent to your email. So we'll be sending that out. So I'm glad you can join us, Chelsea. So the thing is that the reality is, what does the accounting function do? The accounting function collects the money. The accounting function pays the bills. It tracks and measures everything that happened financially. It also tracks some other things that are non-financial measures. Okay. It also, and this is probably one of the more important functions that it handles, is it forecasts, it budgets, and plans for what could happen or what will happen, right? So you're kind of planning, doing some of that strategic planning that we talked about in the process portion. Remember, we talked about the planning, strategic planning. You can't have strategic planning that's effective at all if you don't really know what kind of money you're going to have to affect that strategic plan. Stands to reason, right? If you're planning on entering into a new market and it's going to take some external promotion vis-a-vis ads, I don't know, you're going to need some money to do that, right? Okay, so that's why I'm saying you have to start to think about this in terms of the accounting function, just because it does help you with forecasting and budgeting and planning. So let me just ask you this one question, though. Are all of these things the same skill set? Not even remotely. And the reason being is because they're different. They're totally different functions. So that's why many of you who are solopreneurs who are trying to do your own accounting or just kind of ignore it, I would really highly encourage you to get someone to help you with this, because you're not going to be as effective as if you think you're going to try to do all this yourself. It just isn't going to happen. So that is the 4 core functions. Now let's start to talk a little bit about the financial statements, balance sheets, income statements, and P&L. First and foremost, we're going to talk from the first financial statement we're going to talk about is the balance sheet. The balance sheet and the income statement, P&L. First and foremost, we're going to talk about the balance sheet. Balance sheet is very simple. It's broken down into 3 main parts. Okay. Now, let's take a breath. Okay, I'm going to hold your metaphorical hand, your digital hand. Some of you are already starting to get a little anxious. Oh my gosh, here it comes. I failed my accounting class, right? Okay, relax, take a breath. Really legit. Okay. Accounting isn't about numbers as much as it is about rules. And some of you who have already declared that I'm not a numbers person, I know who you are. This is not about numbers as much as it is about rules. If you can understand how to play solitaire, if you can understand how to play Candyland, if you know how to play Monopoly, you can do accounting. Because I can guarantee you, if I said, hey, you've got 10 pounds or, $10 to buy some petrol or buy some gas, you know how much money, how many liters or gallons that you can get, right? Like this is all it is. It's not advanced math. We're not like, this isn't quantum mechanics. It's simple math. If you know how to operate a 4-function calculator, add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and I will also tell you that probably 80% of the transactions are probably just add and subtract. So this is it. It's really not more complicated than that. Okay. It's just most of accounting and most of bookkeeping is following rules, tracking rules, and doing this. So let's get into it. So the balance sheet is really first and foremost, assets is the first category. Assets is what is owned. Liabilities are what is owed to others, and the equity is what it's worth on paper. So you take the assets, ideally, you sell all the assets, you subtract out all the liabilities, you pay off all the liabilities, and what's left over is the equity. That's the balance sheet. And the balance sheet also has all of the balances of all the accounts, right? So in other words, you might say, well, why is it called a balance sheet? Well, because it's a sheet that lists all the balances, right? If you have $50,000 in a checking account, an asset, right? It's going to say $50,000. Stands to reason, right? So let's look at an income statement. Okay, so let's look at an income statement or a P&L. A P&L, a profit and loss, and an income statement are all the same things. They are the same things. So I'm just letting you know now that if someone says to you, oh, what's your P&L look like? What's your income statement look like? They're talking about the same thing. It's just a matter of vernacular. Okay. Dark Rose saying, I am great with numbers and rules. I just usually get the mental capacity for it by the time I'm finished with everything else. And that, Dark Rose, is exactly why you are probably the least qualified person to do this, because you again, if you're in your right creative brain all day, for you to shift to all the way over to your left cognitive logical brain, there's nothing left. There's no bandwidth left. And that is and I have run into that with contractors. I have run into that with chief marketing officers. I've run into that with CFOs of their own businesses. They're CFOs of other people's businesses, fractional CFOs, and they don't even have the bandwidth to do their own accounting. I'm just telling you. So you're nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. It's just, this is why you need other people to do this. Okay. So, and again, there's lots of fractional bookkeepers that can do this sort of stuff, for you. Okay. So if you're looking for connections like that, I can certainly make them for you. You've got the income statement. The income statement or P&L, they are listed, broken out by revenues or sales, expenses or your payments that are going out, and the net income or profit that's left over. So your revenues are the money you make, okay, over a period of time. The expenses are the payments that you make over a period of time, and the net income that's left over. So let's say in a period of a month, you had $50,000 come in and you had $30,000 go out, you have a net profit of $20,000. That's it. Now, so a balance sheet is a snapshot in time, and income statement is always over a period of time. So I'm going to show you what that looks like right now. So if you're looking, I'm going to get myself out of the way here because those numbers are way too small. So this is excerpted from the Time Wealthy Advantage on page 265 for those of you who have it. But if not, this is the exact replication, so you don't have to go turn to it. But if you look at the balance sheet here, you've got assets on top, liabilities at the bottom, and then owner's equity at which is what's left over. So I'm going to go through these. I'm going to start at the very top with the assets. Again, remember, the assets are what is owned. It's what is owned. Remember, and this is for a snapshot in time. So this would be for the end of the month. Say, for example, this is the end of the month in September. Okay, so this is what's left on the last day of the month in September. So the cash balance in my checking account is $10,350. The accounts receivable is $101,275. That would be an amount that's owed to me. That would be maybe from customers that haven't paid their bill yet. And keep in mind, this is all true for some of you. I know you're joining from the UK and other parts of the world, and from Australia. This is following what's called GAAP, GAAP. It's generally accepted accounting principles, and this is universal across countries. And the reason for that is because there are multinational companies that do business in all over the world, and this is true regardless of the currency. I'm just letting you know this is the format that it will follow. So you've got your current assets or your more liquid assets up top, and your more long-term assets down at the bottom. So you've got cash balances, your vehicles, that is on there at book value, meaning the amount it was purchased for. So you got $29,970, and then you've got a real estate warehouse for $275. So all of those added together is $417,095. Let's go back. So again, that's the balance sheet. Again, you'll see all that up the top. Now let's look at the bottom of the balance sheet. The bottom of the balance sheet, you've got liabilities, and this is again just the balances on the accounts at the end of the month. or it could be any time of the month, but I'm just going to say it's at the end of the month. So my credit card balance that I owe to Chase is $34,760. Accounts payable to a vendor, right? So that could be several vendors. That could be maybe people I was buying, sugar from or other raw materials or whatever. That could be accounts payable. That's money that I haven't paid yet. Wells Fargo, that's a loan that I have on that van that I purchased. I only owe $11,570, and a Citibank real estate mortgage of $105,350. Okay, so the total liabilities, the amount that I owe, the balances that I owe are $189,180. Now I've got total equity, which would be, if you look at the $227,915, that's the assets minus the liabilities equals the total equity. So that's what that is right there. And that's the balance sheet. It is really not more complex than that. Now, I had a few people were asking me about advanced stuff like accumulated depreciation and stuff like that. That's a contra asset. I'm just showing you a very, very basic balance sheet right now. For most of you, this is all you're going to need to know. Okay. So does it get more complex than this? Sure, it does. But right now, I'm just showing you the basics. Let's look at an income statement. And remember, the income statement or the P&L or the profit and loss, again, all same thing. We're looking at revenues, expenses, and net income. So the revenues are at top, expenses are in the middle, and you've got your net income down at the bottom. So let's look at that. So the revenues, you've got product sales, service sales, and the total sales of 114. So again, I'm breaking these out between product sales and service sales. So for example, maybe I'm I don't know, like a plumber. We'll use a plumber as an example. And let's say I sell water heaters in addition to installing and repairing water heaters. So the product sales could be selling water heaters of 75,000, and in my service, which would be me going and working on the actual thing, would be 39,000. Okay, so remember, this income statement is over a period of time. So this might be for the month of September. So September 1st through September 30th. Okay, so that's generally where I'm going to want to match the balance sheet to the last day of the income statement. That way it kind of gives me an assessment in terms of of where I'm at from both my assets and liabilities and how my previous month worked, or how my performance was for the previous month. But it could also be for year to date. It could be from January 1st to September 30th. It could be January. Here we are at October 17th. Now, I don't necessarily want to look at something unless the books have been reconciled, unless the bank accounts have been reconciled. But let's say my bookkeeper closed the books on September 30th, and I could look at that from a balance sheet on September 30th and just look at it from year to date, right? Or quarter to date or period to date, right? So that could be any number of ways that I can carve that up. But my point is I'm looking at this right now. We'll just call it 1 month. So let's look at this again. So we got revenues. Now we're looking to look at the expenses. The expenses, I've got raw materials of 34,000, insurance, interest, commissions, wages. Total expenses amount to 96,320. Net income is 17,680. All right. So that's pretty much, again, total sales minus expenses is my net income. All right. This is pretty straightforward. Okay. You might be thinking, okay, this is great, Mark, but what does this have to do with the price of tomatoes? All right. Why does this matter? Why should I care? All right. Let's get into that, because these are the basics that you just needed to understand in terms of balance sheet and income statement. Now let's get a little bit more advanced. Now we're going to say, and again, you're going to get the replay of this. This is going to be, I promise you, you will be able to understand this. So the reason for this, you might be saying, well, where's all my cash going? I want to make sure that you don't grow broke, and you cannot be strategic if you don't know your numbers. So and this is also making sure that you don't grow broke. So what am I talking about growing broke? Well, you're going to understand that here in a hot second, because there are plenty of companies that are growing, but they're growing faster than their ability to generate cash. And that's a pretty common problem with businesses that are growing, and especially in startup phase, because they're trying to fund it with very expensive debt, and they're doing it with credit card debt. And generally, that it's not so much the interest rate that's the problem. It's something called a loan constant. The loan constant is how much they're paying based on the amount borrowed. So it's how many dollars per thousand are they paying just to service the debt. And that's why credit card debt is so expensive, is because it's got a very, very high loan constant, right? So what I'm saying is, in other words, for like a mortgage, for like a real estate mortgage, I might be paying $8 per thousand. For a credit card, I might be paying $30 per thousand. That's the difference in loan constant. Okay. So I just want to let you know that that's a difference. And that's what happens with a lot of businesses because they're funding it with credit card debt. And that's why they're having trouble. So let's talk about 3 key metrics. All right. We're going to talk about profit margin percentage. We're going to talk about cash balance history and cash as a percentage of sales. If you get nothing else from this, these are the metrics you need to track. Okay, balance sheet, income statement, you can figure that out. But this stuff right here, you're going to need the balance sheet and income statement to know how to track this stuff. So it's not hard. I'm going to show you how to do it. It's pretty simple. So we're going to start with profit margin percentage. And this is what happens when you grow broke. So do you remember, let me get my giant dome out of the way here again. You see that column there on the right? Where I'm going to put a circle around it. Okay, you see that column on the right? That is known as cash. This is known as percentage of sales. This is known as percentage of sales. So when you're looking at these percentage of sales items, the reason why this is important, now let me get this next, we're going to look at that column, okay? You see the column on the right? Hold on a second. You see that column on the right where it says 65.8 and 35.2 or 34.2? Those add up to 100. So the product sales of 75,000, they are 65.8% of sales. Now, why would you say, why does that matter? Because it's the percentage of sales that's going to make a difference. Because the next month, you're not going to have $114,000 in sales exactly, right? You might have 130,000. But the percentage is what's going to evolve. That's going to go either up or down. And the reason why that's important is because you may have higher margins in, say, service sales than in product sales. And you're like, oh, I really want to bring up my levels of service because I know my margins are a lot fatter, meaning I get to keep more dollars by doing service sales, right? So let's say that your profit margin percentage with service is, say, 70%, and your product sales, you only get to keep 20%, right? So you're much more profitable if you can do service sales, right? So that's why you'd want to break that stuff out. Let's look at your expenses. So if you're looking at the expenses, again, you're looking at the right-hand side. What we're talking about profit margin percentage is that right down there at the bottom, see where it says 15.5%? That's known as your profit margin percentage, your profit margin percentage. So let's look at this simple example. Let's pretend that you have a business, okay? And your revenues are $10, for the month, and your expenses are $8 for the month, and your net profit is $2 for the month. That means your net profit percentage is 20%. Okay. So here comes the problem. Let's say, for argument's sake, that you are in an inflationary environment. Okay. And you're in an inflationary environment and your expenses go up by $1. So you're like, shoot, my expenses are now $9, but I want to maintain my profit margin of $2. So you raise your revenues, you raise your sales. In other words, you raise your prices by $1. So your expenses are now $9. Your revenues are now $11, and you maintain your $2 net profit. Here's the problem. Look at your profit margin percentage. What did it do? It went from 20% down to 18.2. Your business is now less efficient at making and keeping money. So now this is one of the ways where you can grow broke. And if you are not paying attention to your profit margin percentage, I'm telling you, you have to be on that like a flipping Band-Aid. You cannot allow your profit margin percentage to slip away from you, because this is exactly how companies will grow broke. And they'll keep going up. Well, like, I don't understand. I raised my prices. I'm like, yeah, but here's the thing. If you want to maintain that 20% profit margin, what you should have raised your price, I think it's $11.20, right? So if it went up $1, you raise it 11 to your pricing to 11.20, that would have maintained your 20% profit margin. So keep in mind, this is also why companies, and think about it, during periods of inflation, this is also why companies have record profits, because they're raising their prices higher than inflation. So everybody knows that expenses are going up, but it gives them a reason to raise their prices even more, and they never come back down. Did you ever notice that? And if they do come back down, they don't come back down as far as they were. That's why inflation is actually good for the economy. Some inflation. Hyperinflation is not. Hyperinflation actually destroys the economy as much as deflation does. People are like, oh, I wish prices would go down. Be careful what you wish for, because deflation is not at all a good thing for the economy. All right, so that is one of the things. So profit margin percentage, you have to be on that like freaking white on rice. You cannot, I mean, you have to be on that like a disease. You cannot let that slip from you. So let's talk about some other resources. We talked about profit margin percentage. Now we're going to talk about cash balance history. This is an easy one. This is really, really easy. And again, let me get myself pulled down here so you can see the screen. So this is what happens when you're looking at your, so cash balance history is the next thing we're going to be talking about. Cash as a percentage of sales wherever we land the plane. So the cash balance history is just you tracking your cash balances. Now, I like to track all sorts of balances, not just cash balances, but I don't care if it's got to go up, and it has to go up. I don't care if it goes up by $1. You have to track your cash balance history. So that might be, you'll see in January, 45,576, all the way up through February, March, blah, blah, blah. Like you can see the cash balance history is being tracked. It's not just being checked on. You're actually tracking the cash balance going up, because you're much more likely to actually, like, again, what you pay attention to, what you focus on is what expands. And this is why you really have to make sure that you're tracking specific balances. You want your loan balances to be going down if that's what you want, and you want your cash balances to be going up. All right, so that's the cash balance history. The last one is cash as a percentage of sales. So this one is a little bit, it's going to take two things that you're going to have to pull from balance sheet and income statement so you know what it is that you're looking at. Now, what we're taking this from is a cash balance from the balance sheet. So you got your checking account up there, right? 10,350. And now you're also going to be taking the total sales. Now, let me just make this quick point here. The reason why I'm tracking cash as a percentage of sales is because I want to know how potentially leveraged I am if I don't have enough cash. Okay. Cash is what's going to keep you alive. Cash becomes your insurance policy. And here's a point that I don't ever want you to forget. Jim Collins had written a book called Great by Choice, where he tracked 30 of the most profitable companies over a 30-year period of time. And these were companies that are massive today, like the Walmarts, the Southwest Airlines, the Microsofts of the world, right? And one of the things that he noticed was that the healthiest companies, the ones that grew the most over that 30-year period of time and grew the fastest over that 30-year period of time, had 3 to 10 times more cash on their balance sheet than their industry counterparts. That is substantial. And the reason why they had that cash is because that was their insurance policy. So that if a bad luck event came along, it wasn't this massively disruptive event. They just weathered the storm. If they had a good luck event, they could take advantage of the good luck event because they had cash. So this is what's important for you to recognize, how important cash on your balance sheet really is. Because if you're always going from month to month to month and you're never building your cash balance, it's putting you at a substantial disadvantage, especially if your cash is growing. This is why I like to track cash as a percentage of sales. So if your revenue, if your sales is going up, your cash balance should also be going up to help fund future growth or take advantage of good luck events when they come along, or weather bad luck events when they come along. So one of the metrics I like to track is cash as a percentage of sales. And the reason for that, let's pretend that your sales cycle, your business cycle, runs 30 days. So I'm going to be looking at my cash balance and checking and I'm looking at that over a period of 30 days. So let's look at that and then get myself down again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two numbers and just divide them out. 10,000 divided by 114 is 8.7% of sales. So my cash as a percentage of sales, as I have 8.7% cash when compared to my sales. So that's another thing that I'm tracking. So if I'm looking at the cash as a percentage of sales, it goes from 8.7 to 9.2 to 11.3. Now that could be a function that could be good, that could be bad, because if my cash is going up as a percentage of sales, that could mean my sales are going down, right? But it could also mean my cash is going up. So I want to make sure that I'm not looking at this in a vacuum, but again, making sure that I know that I'm tracking the things and I'm monitoring the things that are most meaningful and keeping me out of hot water if my business is growing. But again, the whole point of this is you cannot be strategic if you don't know your numbers and if you are growing broke. So a couple of things I just want you to take away from this is you've got to know your numbers. You can't possibly be strategic if you don't know your numbers and you're not paying attention to simple things like balance sheet and income statement. And if you're not able to put a balance sheet or income statement together at the end of each month or end of each, I'd say at a minimum at the end of each month, you're flying blind. And I really appreciate Dark Rose for what you said, but you have to find a way either to find someone else that can do this. And this is exactly why I had a bookkeeper. I'm in between bookkeepers right now, but my bookkeeper would call me and schedule a time on my calendar and would say, hey, I need to go through your balance sheet, your income statement. At the end of it, they would have it. Now, I'm not that far out. I'm only a month or so out of having a bookkeeper, but I'm going to be finding another bookkeeper here very, very soon. And the reason for that is because I need to know where my business is at any one given time. My other businesses I've already got those sorted out. I don't need help with those. With Strategic Boardroom, my transaction volume is pretty low. So, it could go a month or two and it's not going to be that terrible, but still in all, if I'm going to be living in authenticity, I've got to have someone that's going to be doing that stuff. And I do not want to be doing it because I know, just like Dark Rose, I'm going to get to the end of the day, I'm going to be completely worn out and I'm not going to have anything left in the tank and I'm not going to do it. It's the reality. It's the way it is, right? We get too busy, we get too operationally focused, and we're worried about the next alligator coming close to the boat. So I hope you found this helpful. I'm going to give you a couple of free resources that could be helpful for you guys if you are interested. First and foremost, I made that point about knowing your numbers and tracking your numbers, but here's the thing is that right now, if you are of a Facebook sort and you guys are interested, I know some of you are coming back for, I've seen all week. So it's good to have you here. But if you are interested, Lauren just went ahead and put up the Facebook group. And you can just go in there. Just no jerks. If you're a jerk, don't come. I'm serious. Like, don't be a jerk. But you are welcome to come. And again, we don't spam you. Just put some material up there from time to time that you might find helpful. Scheduling a time in my day planner is a good idea, though. Yes. Yeah, it is a good idea if you will actually do it, Dark Rose. What I would say though is, this is why I have a bookkeeper who literally had my calendar. She had a calendar link that she could book on my calendar anytime she wanted. So I wasn't waiting on them to actually, waiting on her to, try to find time in my calendar. She just went ahead and booked it and we just made that time. So that's the way it worked out best for me. And then we would schedule a financial meeting, midway through the month, and it worked out pretty well. So the EventBrite, for those of you who are interested, I know I talked about a lot of other things. I talked about lead generation. I talked about sales. I talked about accounting. I talked about operational things. I talked about different types of selling one-to-one versus selling one-to-many. I have a lot of other courses, a lot of other sessions. I think all of them have been free with the exception of one at this point. So if you are interested, keep an eye on EventBrite. Follow me for more events. You can go on my website and find other stuff, but this is probably the best way because EventBrite actually gives you a notification whenever I put a new thing up there. So that's probably the best thing to go and do that. I actually have that link handy. I'm going to go ahead and put that up for you guys as long as I can. Can I copy that? Nope, I don't think I can copy that. So hang on one second. Do you have that? Oh, you've got events. Okay, that'll be fine. Yep. So you can find it underneath what Lauren has put in there. She's also put the EventBrite link up there. Okay, Lauren, you're all over it. Thank you. What I want to do now is I want to share with you. So this is the end of the session. If anybody has to go, I know we're right near the top of the hour. I wanted to make sure that I was getting as close to the top of the hour as possible, just so I can be mindful of your time and your time commitment. It is Friday after all. I'm sure you've got other things to do, but I do want to share with you some other resources. And this one is a free money and finance course. And if you are interested in this is totally free. There is no cost. I've already got your email address. You're like, oh, you're going to get my email address. I already got your email address because you're here. So it's like, you just have to re-register. You just put your name in there, and this is a free course. Let me just tell you a couple things that's in here, because on the other side of this, there is a paid course. So I'm not like sandbagging you. I'm not like, oh, you're waiting for the good stuff. No, I'm like telling you everything that's in here first, and then I'll tell you what's also in it for the advanced course. So if you got to go, you're not interested, you can, Lauren, you can go ahead if you want to put in the link for the free money and finance course. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what's in there now. So the money templates is probably the most valuable thing that's in here. I spent a tremendous amount of time putting these silly things together. What the first thing that's in here is a chart of accounts example. And you might be thinking, well, why do I need to know a chart of accounts? A chart of accounts is incredibly helpful when you are sitting with your bookkeeper or your CPA, when you're getting ready to have conversations around like, hey, do I already have a line item for my real estate or my credit cards or my this or my that? Like, so every line item that's on your balance sheet or your income statement, right? Every asset, every liability, every line of equity, every revenue item, every expense item, that's going to be showing up in your chart of accounts. So it's really helpful for you to understand like what that is. And there's an example in there for that. The next thing that's in there is a basic balance sheet example. In case I went a little bit too fast for you. In the session here, you actually have something in there for that. There's also a basic income statement example. There's also a balance tracking template, which you can use to track. So you don't have to create that template for tracking balances like cash balances, credit card balances, loan balances, things like that. You can use this. And the way I have it set up is January through February, and just can keep a running total. So you can see the trends of what's going on in all of your balances. And this is really, really important. So you can see what kind of progress you're making financially and also towards your financial goals. There's an underwriting example. This is going to make more sense here in a second when you start seeing the video courses. This is the this is how basic underwriting is done. Sometimes lenders will do something called an advanced rate or a discount rate. So the discount rate is the opposite of an advanced rate. So when I was an underwriter for a while, this was everything that I live by. So if someone's coming to me and wanting to borrow as a business, and if you have any interest in borrowing as a business or in the name of a business, this is what you're going to want to understand. So I'm just letting you know, this is understanding like what you can lend on receivables, you can lend on, or you can borrow or offer collateral as receivables, things like that. And this is how they put a valuation on that. If you are going to borrow again as a business, you're going to need to put together what's called a PFS, also known as a personal financial statement. And this is pretty straightforward. I mean, you can use one of theirs. They're going to hand you one and you're going to fill it out. But how nice would it be if you walked in and it looked like you had your stuff wired together because you already had this ready and filled out and ready to go. So this is their, and that is the membership login. Hang on one second, Lauren. I'm going to make sure I've got I think you got an extra character in there. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna put the login on. I'll find that here in just a hot second. So this is the if you guys are ever have heard the underwriting for a DSCR loan or a or regular real estate underwriting, and you're trying to do this for a commercial type lending, I'm going to show you how to do how to do that based on either calculating EBITDA or NOI, and this is how you actually do the calculation in terms of what your DSCR loan is. And and in the course, you'll understand what the numbers are, what they all mean. Okay. So let's talk about some of the basic stuff. Again, this is all the free stuff, right? This is all one free course. So the we're going to talk about scary things like, chart of accounts, general ledger stuff, other scary things like, what's the difference between postage expense and shipping expense? All of these different things. Like this is just the basic, basic course in there. You've got the balance sheet basics, the income statement basics, borrowing as a business. And this is just going to start lending basics, revolving lines of credit and things like that. Also term loans for business. All of that stuff is in the free course. So before I go any further, let me grab that right quick because I think I maybe gave Lauren the wrong link. So give me just a hot second. And I'm going to find that because I messed up. And I don't want Lauren to take the heat for that because I messed up. So give me 1 second here. So the free business owners money and finance course. Here we go. All right. And then the other thing, what I'm going to show you on the advanced side here. What do I do with that? Here it is. Okay. So give me 1 second. Copy that. Copy there. Let me bring you guys back up. Okay. And this is what you will want. Yep. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Lauren. Okay, so that's the free Business Owners Money and Finance course. So the other link, I think, is just going to take you to the login page. Okay, so for those of you who are interested in the advanced course, if you are looking to pay a few bucks, this is the advanced stuff. It's basically everything I already told you that's already going to be available. All the money templates, the chart of accounts examples, the balance sheet example, the income statement example, the balance tracking, the underwriting template, the personal financial statement, the borrowing as a business. I'm going to show you advanced income statement and balance sheet examples. There's also going to be something known as a CapEx calculator, which is capitalization rate, or how to calculate your capital expenditure items, like especially in real estate, if you guys have any interest in real estate, how you would calculate that for different things. Your accounts receivable aging, accounts payable aging. There's literally like 25 different things on this sheet. There's just too much to mention, and without context, it's kind of hard for you to understand. But there's a lot, and everything that I talk about in these videos, and I'm going to go over here in a second, is going to have a supporting sheet which will back that up. So that's why it'll make more sense when I tell you what's going on here. So for the and by the way, if you have to hop off, you can access the paid course through the free link that I just posted. So you go in there, you put in your information, you scroll all the way to the bottom, and you can buy the course there too. So if you have to go, I understand. I just want to let you know. So the first thing, one of the things is how credit scores actually work. Most people don't understand how credit scores actually work, and I'm just telling you right now, it's not what you think. There's a lot more to it. There's metrics that every business owner must know, and these are just basic KPIs that most business owners are not familiar with, and that's and just show you how to track those different things. Advanced metrics in terms of profitability metrics and other metrics to track, like understanding EBITDA, understanding NOI, and other calculations that you need. There's going to be other advanced balance sheet metrics, ROI, aging reports, something known as a daily flash report. That's really important for you, so you can know like what's going on at any one given time in your business. There's something called a loan constant. I mentioned it earlier, actually how to calculate the loan constant and other debt tools, and so you can get out of debt much, much faster and also manage your risk. That's going to be really important. The other thing is something called the infinite banking concept, and this is where I actually stack my cash in a tax advantaged way, so you can actually be your own bank. So, yep, absolutely, Dark Rose, you're more than welcome. All of this right now, I'm just letting you know, is for $37 if you buy it today. Okay, so that means today, not like tomorrow. But if you buy it today, it's $37. If you go on my website, it's still $37. The difference is if you buy it today, I'm also going to give you a free strategy session. It'll be a 55-minute strategy session with me specifically. We can talk about anything you want. We can talk about financial stuff. We can talk about lead generation stuff, sales stuff. We can talk about really whatever it is that you want. I'm a strategist. I work on all different aspects for business owners just like yourself. So let me go ahead and put that link up there, because again, I did not grab the right one for Lauren. So this one is $37, and this is it right here. So free and business owners. Okay, this is it right here. So what will happen is you're going to go ahead and get this. You'll get instant access to this. And then what you will do is once I see that come through, I'll be in touch with you. I will send you a link so you can schedule your one-to-one session with me. So if you want to go ahead and buy it, that's totally fine. If you just want the free one, that's totally fine. Whichever works for you, whichever works best for you. That's all I have, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate you so very much. Thanks for staying engaged today. And we'll see you guys next time.